Hello and welcome to Hikwa Live. It's Thursday, 11 a.m. Berlin time, which is Central European summertime right now. We have summertime since last week. Today's topic is all about business transformation. So, how to transform a business is the main umbrella topic for today. And I've prepared a couple of questions and I will take questions as we go, as usual. So let me just put a little bit into the chat here so people see it and do this as well here. So we're up to date. Good. So, as said, welcome. It's Hikwa. Hikwa is Human Innovations Questions Answered. Human Innovation Questions Answered. Hikwa. And people reaching out to me via the email I've posted the last time, but I have heard and I got the feedback that's somehow a little tricky. Not everyone wants to send emails. So I have created a chat functionality, almost like WhatsApp, on my websites. So I have a website which is jensheitland.com where you have a chat functionality where you basically can just quickly type in your question and it goes directly to my mobile phone. And when the mobile phone rings, beeps at least, then I can answer that question straight away if I'm available. If I'm meetings or recordings or live shows like I'm right now, I can't do that. Then you can add your email address. I still get the first message. So if you want to get an answer, then put in your email address. jensheitland.com. On the bottom right corner on mobile and on the desktop version, you will find the new Hikwa chat. And that's the same on my business, which is heitlandinnovation.com. You will see the same pop up in the bottom right corner, and you can just put in your question, and they're directly going to me. It's a chatbot coordination, which is supporting me, but it's basically everything what you get from an answer to human innovation questions. They're written for me, so it's no one else doing this because I truly want to be part of this, and I don't want to outsource that or automate, which I do with a lot of other things, but not this one. But let's get into today's topic. First topic is, of course, how to transform business. Is the umbrella. As I said, first question I got was, what can I do as a manager to change? To manage change was the question. Good question. What can you do as a manager? Manager in an organization, you're responsible to manage people. You're responsible and you're, from a hierarchy perspective, responsible to manage people. Number one is leading, not managing. For me, there's a critical difference between a manager and a leader. A manager is the person who has the authority from the position, which means this person is responsible for the salary, for the performance of the other people, which are reporting to that person. So that's a position where you get into a power position. A leader, for me, is someone who is getting followed because the people want to follow this person, want to do what the person is. The person, a leader is a person that is able to influence people in a positive way and capable of motivating people to do things. So that's number one. Don't manage. And specifically, when we talk about change, as part of transformation, there's always a change perspective. That's why I brought this question into the transformation umbrella. It's really important to do this. Don't focus on management, focusing on leadership. And that means you focus on empowering people to take decisions and empowering people to take action. And that requires different skills and different ways of interacting with your team members and as well peers than being a manager. So it's really start in looking into how can you delegate responsibility. Responsibility can be, hey, you're now not just responsible or acting for this task. I want you to take a bigger perspective. I want you to take an opportunity, which is maybe leading a project. And the project can be very, very small. It's not necessary that it need to be big. It's just not a one-off task. It's a responsibility where a person has a broader perspective and a wider responsibility than just a task. So how can you delegate responsibility? That's number one thing, which is, okay, now you're doing something wider than just executing the task. And the second one is, how do you delegate that they are not just having the responsibility for it, but as well the possibilities to execute on it, which means they have the resources to do that. And resources sometimes just can be time. So you're a manager, you have the possibility to give them time and allocate time for them to do this wider task, the wider responsibility than just focusing on one small task, stamping a paper or whatever you're into. So that's one piece. And then it's really helping to take action, helping to take responsibility, helping to take accountability, which is for me on the manager side. So you're accountable that the others are able to fulfill their responsibilities by giving them resources is time, money, whatever they need, as well knowledge. So that's the key parts for me when we talk about transformation and change, really bringing this in. So we got a couple of questions. Let's see which ones I can pick up in this context. How okay, that's a good one. Thank you, Ibrahim. How do you apply this strategy to a company just starting? I think it's very important when you start out. And I was teaching at Barcelona University, the Start UB part, which is focusing on startups. When was it, last week or the week before? And there was a question similar to this. So key for me is when you are a startup founder or a startup that's just beginning or an entrepreneur that's just opening a business, you most probably don't have too many people reporting to you, so you're not a manager. But in the end, what you're doing with creating a business, you need to be a leader. And you see this. I was just listening this morning to a podcast episode with Mark Zuckerberg, and he truly transformed in his career to be a leader, not just a manager. So when you do this, is really as a startup, I think it's exactly the same as a business that's starting out. If you're the owner of the business, you lead, you don't manage only. You need to manage because you were most probably deep down into the operations in an early stage of a company, but it's really focused on leadership so that you can work and empower the people so that they take wider responsibilities. So you basically train the people which are working with you, either externals or internals, directly from the beginning, that they have the responsibility for what they're doing, but as well they have the needs and the means to do that. Okay, he's just answering. He hired two people, and we're a startup of total size of 6. Yes. So then that's 100% applicable. Important is really forming this tight relationship from a leadership early on, so that you have the possibility to develop the capabilities of the total team to the right level as early as possible. Because some founders come more from the management style only, then they're basically delegating. They need to be involved in every single decisions because they're the driver of everything. So if you directly from the beginning look into how can you delegate wider responsibilities, and that can be, hey, you're responsible for this part of the sales process or acquisition process, depending on what your startup is doing. um, and this, what do you need to do that? So you directly hire skilled people who are capable of developing this, and then together with them you get them into the right setup so that they are responsible for parts of the process, parts of the flow, whatever the topics are. But they get as well the opportunity and the time, and of course money that helps them to get there. I hope that answers the question. I will go to the next one now. So how can innovation help businesses transform? Of course, that's one of the topics why I doubled down on innovation after leaving the corporate world, because I truly believe innovation is a possibility that helps every business to transform. And innovation for me is really a mindset. It's not too much about all the different processes. It's the part where we go back to leadership. How do you enable an organization to think different? How do you enable an organization to build this innovative mindset? Because that will help you to transform. And then again, it's starting with the leaders, and then it's enabling the people to think differently, to do things differently. So the people are used to transforming, used to really go into change and all these topics. And I think another part in answering this question is failure is part of innovation. Failure is part of the way forward when you innovate, when you prototype things, when you do things differently than you're used to, which means from a transformation perspective, that helps you to learn and validate your ideas towards transforming, because transformation is always such a big topic. And it's truly big when you're a big company. Let's say you are 100,000 employees, you're 1,000 employees doing a business transformation with 1,000 employees. It's it's already complicated to do, and it takes a lot of focus and getting this done, even with a company that's 50 people. But if you do this on a context of, let's say, 100,000 plus employees, then it's even more important. So innovation for me is the organism that helps you to transform, and helps as well bringing the culture and the innovation mindset into the business, so you can do that from a cultural aspect very, very easy. And then of course you need to do the transformation in a proper way, that it is as well going forward. So let's look, what do we have here? Next question. How to secure a business transformation long term was another question. I always say it's based on the three success pillars I use all the time. So the three success pillars of every organization is leadership. Leadership is number one critical point. Everyone focuses on business, and I understand that because that's the obvious one, but I think everyone should focus on leadership first. And leadership for me is, how do you lead yourself? Are you in tune with yourself as the manager of the organization, the CEO of the organization, the founder, wherever you are in the leadership positions and the management positions inside an organization? Are you in tune with yourself? Do you believe in yourself? Are you up to date with yourself? Are you healthy? All these topics play a role before you are able and capable of leading others properly. I know there are a lot of leaders and a lot of managers out there, they just do this on the side. I truly believe if you are in an economical situation in an economical driven business, this leadership is number one priority for every business, and it is neglected too often. And then you see down the road that it's not working. You hire the wrong people, you don't work properly with the customers, you don't work properly with the employees, and the effect is always then the business is not working. So leadership, leading yourself before you lead others, helping people to understand how they can lead themselves. Just really, 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 really basics. How do you organize as a company owner? If you take a startup, from if we take the example from Ibrahim, how do you help inside of your company young people or people working in that company to develop over time? How do you show them perspectives that they can grow inside of your company rather than outside? So that's number one part. And then it's really enabling them. That links a little bit back to the other question. How do you enable the team? How do you work with them, delegating them responsibilities and giving them the accountability and as well the possibility to do the things? How do you work together with your clients? How do you work together with your partners? How do you work together with your customers? Because I truly believe when you do the leadership part plus the community part, working tightly together and kind of, let's say the buzzword is co-creating it, the business for me is the result of that. Specifically, when you look into transformations, there's often, let's take another buzzword as digital transformation. Digital transformation is a very technical term. You look into an organization that is transforming, um, first maybe the offline process into a digital world, but I think that's just the first level of transformation. You need to then go to the next level and truly transform, which is, how do you use this insight in a digital way to transform the business? And being able to do that requires you need to work with the people inside of the organization, because the people are the limiting factor. It's not the technology. The technology can do that. And that's why most probably you focus on a digital transformation, because we need to speed up. We need to be able to scale. We need to be able to do things differently. Focusing on the digital transformation without the people part, or neglecting the people part, which is happening a lot. I see this day in, day out. Um, it's limiting the ability to be successful in the transformation. So it's really about leadership, community, and then the business. Then you go deeper into how do we do this technology wise? How do we do this from a process level? How do we do this in more details? So let's see do we have next. Why should a business transformation? Oh, why should a business transform when everything is well? That's a good question because I mean, I've worked in three of the most successful companies in their areas where they have been in their markets, basically worldwide. Just to say, I think it's critical to transform and it's critical to always move on because the change, if we just look backwards with technology and what's happened, I mean, just in my lifetime in the career, I'm grown up without a smartphone, without a computer, and now this is basic. My daughter, which is 4 right now, she has all of this at her fingertips already, and she's 4. I learned to work with a smartphone when I was, I don't know, 25, even 30 almost. So this change will just increase, and that means organizations need to be future fit the whole time. You need to build an organism inside of the company that helps you to adapt all the time. It's not that you do a transformation every 5 years and it's a big bang and you do this. I think it's what the future norm will be. And COVID has shown that as well over the last 2 years, where you need to adapt quickly on different circumstances. You need to do that and enable the people in your organization to do that successfully. That means understand it as well from a business strategy, and that's super basics for me. It's like understand it from a business strategy. Where do you want, from a visionary perspective, where do you want to be in 5 and 10 years? And then really look at that from a 10x perspective. If you truly want to make an impact in this world, how do you take it to the next level? And then look into what are you doing on a day-to-day base to get there? How do you enable your employees to understand the visionary perspective, but then do it step by step, going into that direction, so that you build this organism that's ready for transformation. But it's not about the transformation. That's just part of your business. That's part of the culture you're developing inside of your organization, and that will be successful on the long run. So it's truly about, again, taking the leadership angle, working with the teams, and bringing the culture aspect into your business so that the business and the company itself is transforming basically on a day-to-day basis. Then you don't need to do this big transformations every 5 years when there's a new technology, or sometimes every 20 years. It's about how do you drive new things into the organization quickly on a day-to-day basis. And that sometimes means you need to have an innovation department, like I explained in the last episode of Hequa last week. Next question. How can I support a transformation as an employee? So it's now not the manager, it's the employee. I think number one is for me being a front runner, being willing to do things and trust an organization, trust your manager that you have the possibility. And I know that's sometimes tricky depending on the company culture, but it's really about take action, be a positive thinker, whatever transformation is coming. There's a new technology. You work in a factory, there's a new technology coming in. How can you utilize that technology in different ways, not just the obvious ones? So as an employee, you can do this on a day-to-day basis, really facilitate interactions with this. Let's say if we take the technology and stick to that, engage with people so that they understand the technology, that they understand how this works together, and really build this positive mindset that it's not about, hey, there comes something else, there comes a new robot, there comes a new process, and that's limiting my decision power. Look at it from a positive perspective, where it's like, how can I use the possibility of having a new robot, having a new process, having a new thing coming from the outside, having a new digital piece? How can I use that to improve myself and then improve the business? Positive mindset critical if you want to succeed as an employee and supporting a transformation. And I'm always a fan of people who are challenging and asking difficult questions inside of an organization, because that's what keeps the leaders and the managers on their toes as well. I know that this that these people are not often seen in a positive way. But for me, it's really that's what is needed to transform an organization. So if you're an employee, it's like, what can you do to help the transformation? Is asking question, critical question. What is the reason for it? How does it work? How can you be part of it? Really going into that details. Let's see, there's another question coming in. Do you think it is a good approach to have some senior profiles with experience to match with the new technology? Thank you, Frank. Yes, I think that sometimes we think if we look into technology that senior people don't understand technologies, and how do we bring them together? For me, it's not necessarily that senior people, old people don't understand the technology. It's more about the culture of the organization and the way we grew up. They're not used to this technology, and then they're maybe afraid to be seen as not appropriate anymore, afraid of losing face because they're not professionals in adapting to that technology. So as an organization, it's more about how can you do this again on a day-to-day base, building a culture where you, like Joshua and I explained in the other podcast I'm doing, which is called the Reverse Mental Lab. How do you bring engagement between the different generations? Even how do you engage someone who is about to retire, let's say 65 years old? How does this person, maybe in an executive position, work with students that are just entering the business? How can they work together on problems? How can they learn from each other, so that it's not about the technology, it's more about how can they enhance each other and therefore enhancing the business? I hope that answers the question. Let's go into the next one. So when should a business transform? that's a, that's that's as well a tough one. I think it's like with getting a child. There's never the right time of getting a child. So for me, transformation every day. That's something we all need to focus on going forward. How do we enable our organization to transform on a day-to-day base? And that doesn't mean the full transformation on one day. It's more about enabling the organization to transform, building this organism, which I talked about in the other question, building that true organism that helps you. Because don't wait until it's too late. A lot of organizations, we have seen the big organizations fail. They haven't adapted, they haven't taken the opportunity to transform, they have waited too long. So it's really about the daily transformation that helps you build the future organization, builds the culture of transformation or innovation, whatever buzzword you want to use. But it's really about focusing on the people that help you to do things differently. Enable the people, empower the people, so that the people are able to understand what is the future. So it's not often in organization we limit our employees just to the task what they're doing. I'm working in marketing and I'm responsible for social media. Okay, but do you understand the complexity of the business? Do you understand how important your role is from creating the total story of the business, creating the total business success of the future? Often we don't allow ourselves inside an organization to take the time that everyone understands what the business is about, that everyone has the possibility to see their contribution to the business success from a total business composition perspective. And I think that's something, when you want to be ready for transformation and when you're asking yourself, should our business transform? I think it's already a signal for me that you should double down right now. Start with the leadership, build leadership capabilities, that leaders going away from being a hierarchical manager who is just using their power to get their position through, to getting them towards a leader which is empowering employees to be even more successful. And yes, that means they are giving up power. That means they are not maybe the most important person inside of the organization, but it's truly important for long-term success in the world where we are in today. I think it's critical for today, but even more important for tomorrow and whatever comes in the future. Leaders and the capability of leaders is the number one skill every organization needs to focus on to be able to be future fit. Let's see. I think that's it for today. If there's any questions, you can still contact me. But we're 25 minutes in. I think that's a good timing. So, as said, HIQA, Human Innovation Questions Answered, is the live show I do every Thursday at 11 o'clock Berlin time. I might need to change that when I'm traveling because I will be in San Francisco and Silicon Valley for a couple of trips I'm organizing. If you're interested in that, by the way, reach out to me. We still have a couple of places. But HIQA is all about the human innovation questions answered. And there's a chat functionality on my websites, which is jensheitland.com and heitlandinnovation.com. It's going to me. It's ending up on my mobile phone. So if you have a question which you would like to get answered, if you have a question which you would like to discuss with me, maybe even in a podcast format, reach out to me. That's it for today. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Thank you.